you think of when you hear the name Bill? Do you think of Bill Burr? Do you think of Bill Cosby? But who, might you ask, is this Bushwick Bill? You've stopped by on the right day. You've clicked on, you've come to the right place. Because you have to learn some knowledge. You can't live your life not knowing who Bushwick Bill is.
Ladies and gentlemen.
If you've never heard of the Ghetto Boys, you've probably seen Office Space. You know, the scene where they're absolutely smashing to death the PC low letter fuck you printer. Die motherfuckers die. Also from that same movie, the montage, you know, damn it feels good to be a gangster. Yeah. Bill is the little person in the Ghetto Boys. He was the little guy. He was fucking scary as fuck, but he was cool shit. Come on, if you saw him running at you, you wouldn't be a little scared? You wouldn't be just a little afraid? You would be, don't lie. And I just want to start off by saying that I'm not going to refer to him as Little Bill, okay? It's too easy. I'm not going to do it, all right? Richard Shaw, or you might know him as the little person from the Ghetto Boys, was born December 8th, 1966 in Kingston, Jamaica. He started his career with the Ghetto Boys, but not as a rapper, but as a backup dancer they called Lil Billy. Wasn't long before he was rapping in 1988 as a feature on the Ghetto Boys' debut album, Making Trouble. The album was a commercially reviewed flop, and their label, Rap-A-Lot Records, dropping all members from the group except for DJ Ready Red and Bill. Rap-A-Lot CEO then recruited two Texas natives, Scarface and Willie D, all the same year, releasing the second debut album with the revamped Ghetto Boys. Grip It on that other level, releasing the following year in 1989 and becoming an icon in the horrorcore genre. At just 3'8", he was undoubtedly a standout member of the Ghetto Boys. One shouldn't be fooled by his stature. The guy was kind of a crazy beast, but in the best way. The only reason I really decided to make this video, it wasn't so much a decision. It stemmed from a conversation that I was having with a good friend. His name is Donavan. You might know him as YungCripp. So he started telling me a story that was true, and I can't tell you it. It's not fitting. So I'm going to let Donavan tell you in his own words what happened.
When I say disabled icon, I think a lot of people would probably think of people like Stephen Hawking, or maybe even Ricky Berwick if you're, you know, an autistic child. But little did you know that there is a man, a myth, and an absolute fucking legend that goes by the name of Bushwick Bill. He was at a club, and he decided, I'm going to take this guy's gun, this officer who worked at the club. That gun, that's mine now. This is going to be mine. That's my gun. So he's trying to take it from him, and obviously this guy's not going to let Bushwick Bill take his gun. That ain't in his agenda. So he tells the DJ, hey man, you got to get this guy out of here, because if you don't, I'm going to have to arrest him. Bush, he says, alright, you know what? I'll back off. I'll go home. Call it a night. He gets home, he's still kind of wasted, and he looks on the counter and he says, is that weed? Who left me weed? I don't leave weed. But fuck yeah, I'm gonna smoke this. So he rolls himself a nice little Al Capone-ass blunt, as any good man would do when having the means to do so, and he puffs away at it. He's smoking this bitch down, but little did he know that while smoking this, his weed was laced with formaldehyde, also known as PCP on the streets. So as he's smoking, he says, hey, I don't like living. I don't want to be alive. But I also don't want to kill myself, because if I do that, my mom won't get the insurance money. So what if I get somebody to kill me? Goes into his girlfriend's room in the middle of the night, starts, you know, beating the shit out of her, yelling at her, screaming at her, trying to get her to get angry at him. He does pull out a gun, and he says, do it, shoot me. And obviously she's not wanting to do that. He's desperate to make this happen. He goes and finds her baby. Puts a gun to this baby's head. Says, you're gonna fucking do it. She complied. She very much was against it. And he had put the gun in her hand. Put his face in front of it. And boom. He described the event as when you turn an old school TV off. And it's really bright. And then it slowly fades into a dark circle. And then it was nothing. Just silence. And he looks at himself in the mirror. And he's fucked up, to say the least. And he's looking at himself in the mirror with his eye fucking just torn apart. And his first thought is, if I was dead, I should be able to see through myself. But I can't. I can't see through me. I'm not dead. And as he's thinking this, he's hearing screaming. She's screaming. His girlfriend screaming, I killed him. He made me kill him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And so obviously, since he's not dead, he's got to correct her. And he walks into the room and he's like, hey, I'm not dead. Needless to say, they run out. They're freaked out. But he doesn't know what's going on. He's fucking drunk, high, and, you know, with a bullet in his head. So he doesn't know what's going on. He starts chasing after him. And at that point, the ambulance shows up. Bill is putting up a fight. He's fighting these guys. And his buddies are there. And he's like, hey, man, you gotta go. So eventually they get him in the ambulance. And, well, he's dead. He arrived at the hospital without a pulse. And he had been dead on arrival. Now, I believe the legal time to be dead is about 45 minutes. Is when they'll announce you dead. Bill was dead for about roughly 3 hours. They had him on the gurney, taking him to the morgue. The technician and one other guy. And they're pushing him. They have him on the cold slab. And next thing you know, Bill comes to. Under the little, dead blanket that they put over people. It's got the toe tag still and everything. And when you wake up from that, you're probably thinking, wow, this is scary. Where am I? What's happening? But not Bill. Bill wakes up and he says, I gotta pee, man. I gotta take a mad piss. So he sits up, rips the catheter out of his fucking dick, jumps down, and starts pissing into a cup.
So do you really want to know just how motherfucking gangsta Bill really was? This right here is the catheter. Goes up your urethra if you're a guy. Right up the pee hole. Let's go. So what happens is when you take out or rip out a catheter from your pee hole, it's not going to just look like this. It has to stay. So guess what? It's got to be inflated. Universally, it's 10 cc's. So this is 10 cc's. He ripped this out of his fucking pee hole. That hurts, okay? Especially for a little guy. That can't be pleasant. Look at this.
Obviously, when you're taking a dead body to, the place where all the other dead people are, and it gets up, your natural reaction is scared. So they run. They book it out of there, and they say, fuck this. And when Bill got up and started peeing, he did it right next to a security guard. And the security guard, seeing this goes down, it's not registering right away. His first words to Bill are, you peed on my shoe. And Bill, without skipping a beat, is like, yeah, my bad. And then it finally registered to the security guard what was happening. He fucking white-faced leaves, runs. And that's around the time two, big old psych ward fucking nurses come in and they handle Bill. He blacks out, they give him a shot, and he wakes up in the hospital bed handcuffed. And he was wondering, why the fuck am I handcuffed? What's happening? Did I do something wrong? Well, he did, but the reason why they had him handcuffed was because every time he was coming to, he was screaming about how he was going to jump out the window. he survived the ordeal. He was legally dead, and he had a death certificate. He is one of the very few men on this planet that can say owns a birth certificate and a death certificate. And technically he has two now, since he sadly passed away of cancer many years later, but he has said that that event did change his life, and he became very more in tune with God, because how could you not after something like that, right? I don't blame him. Hard for me to argue against that, but it was a very infamous and legendary photo that was taken for both the LP for one of his songs and the album cover to the Ghetto Boys, which is probably the most amazing and badass covers of any album ever. Don't argue with me. It is amazing. Love you, Bush. Hope you're doing okay, wherever you're at.
There was something known as the Great Rap Censorship Scare of 1990. After the Ghetto Boys' release of Grip It on That Other Level in 1989, along with 2 Live Crew, As Nasty as They Wanna Be, that was a very, very controversial album for the time, due not only to explicit lyrics objectifying women, and also the band's album cover of As Nasty as They Wanna Be, because there was bare ass. And along with NWA, a call was into question about rap's influence on today's kids. Would somebody think of the children? A Florida-based censorship campaign went on to target them and even banned and making illegal selling of some of these records, more notably 2 Live Crew. In fact, a man by the name of Charles Freeman, who owned a Florida record store, was convicted of obscenity charges for selling the 2 Live Crew album to an undercover cop. People were actually going into the store as if it were a drug dealer. As if it was a drug deal to buy a fucking record. That's how bad it got. Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, she was totally serial about censorship, particularly to rap music. It was 2 years later that she became the second lady of the United States. Second comes after first. She led the campaign, which eventually turned into the lovely explicit lyrics content sticker that we now still see today for explicit lyrics that have to do with things of a sexual nature, violence, all the cool shit that we like to hear in music because, fuck everything else. Fuck it. The Ghetto Boys, they were one of the very pioneers to ever rock that label on one of their records. But the people fought back. There was even a campaign called Censorship is Un-American. Became a very big campaign in the 90s. These things happened so musicians today can flourish, and they were musicians even that Bill himself was very critical of more of the recent mumble rap genre, all that shit that we hear today. And I hate to say it, in the words of Will Smith, parents just don't understand. In 1991, the Ghetto Boys released a new album called We Can't Be Stopped, which is kind of like a middle finger to everybody that tried to stop them. One of my favorite videos now, one of my favorite rap videos, and maybe just videos in general, is My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me. Bill's part is hella cool because it's Halloween. Bitch be loving spookies. There was just a difference between the Ghetto Boys and a lot of what was coming out at that time. And it wasn't just My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me. If you go back and you watch a lot of their music videos, they were like mini films. Like they really drew you in. They had a story. The camera shots were actually pretty decent, especially for a music video back then. It was really, really cool to watch. He had an album called Little Big Man. On it was a track called Ever So Clear. It tells the story of how he was accidentally shot in the eye.
Call me crazy, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm tripping from all that smoking weed and drinking. But I knew she wouldn't do it on her own, so I provoked her. Punched her, kicked her, and chocked her. She still wouldn't grab the gun. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about no one. Damn near crazy, I went to grab the baby, held him by the door and said, "Mama, throw his ass out, ho!" She went to crying. "Somebody stop him!" I said, "You better grab the motherfucking gun or I'ma drop him." She snatched the baby out of my hands. We started fighting, punching, scratching, and biting. When we fell on the bed, check this shit. All kinds of crazy shit was going through my head. So I ran and got the gun and came back to her, loaded it up, and handed the gat to her. I grabbed her hand and placed the gun to my eye muscle. She screamed, "Stop!" And then we broke into another tussle. Yo, during the fight, the gun went off quick. Damn! Oh shit, I'm hit! Oh my eye, I can't see. Why you shot me in the eye? I would have shot you in the body. Why you shot me in the eye?
Bill was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Bill was slated to go on tour, on a solo tour himself, entitled Fuck Cancer. But with his worsening condition, the tour inevitably was canceled. Ghetto Boys bandmate Scarface confirmed his death on June 8th, 2019. Although Bill's son refuted that report with a post on Instagram that stated, contrary to what has been prematurely, insensitively, and inaccurately posted, reported, "My dad is not dead. He's still alive and fighting for his life. He needs your continued prayers and support." Certain people have been so quick to write him off as dead, so they capitalize off it. It's so messed up because y'all really think these people care about him. There is no Ghetto Boys without Bushwick Bill. Bushwick Bill lost his battle with pancreatic cancer on June 9th, 2019, in Denver, Colorado, at the age of 52, surrounded by family, and reported peacefully. And if there is something that his son is very correct about, there would be no Ghetto Boys without Bushwick Bill. I don't feel like anyone would really know the Ghetto Boys without Bushwick Bill. And it's not just because he was the little person in the band. It was the presence. It was the lyrics. It was the voice. It was the energy. And it's a legend that you all now know. That's going to go ahead and do it for this one. I hope you liked it. If you did, give me a little kiss. Let me know. Slap a little like on it. Subscribe if you're new. Most of you probably are, because let's face it, my friends, they did some charity work today. So thank you to Donavan and thank you to Colossal. I appreciate them very much. You probably already know their stuff, but everything's linked down. Donavan has a podcast called Cripp in the Cradle, so you should probably listen to that. I have a podcast too. It's called Real Weird Sickos. Links are down there. We have stuff every week. You should go give it a little listen. It's pretty weird and it's pretty sick. And I will see you next time.